Broadcasting from Hollywood, California, it's Grant's Rants, Hollywood Talk.
Johnny Depp is in a hell of a mess, on and off screen. The Obamas prepare to move from the White House to a new house. It's good to be Naomi Campbell, and we look at the firings and behind-the-scenes bloodshed on The View and The Real. That and more with David Adam Nole right here. Let the ranting begin. I am joined by David Adam Nole, founder and publisher over at AN Publishing. David, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Doing great. Now, David is joining us from San Francisco, where he resides, and I've been really wanting to get him on the show because we talk a lot about daytime TV and pop culture, mainly on Facebook chat and things like that. We've known each other for a while, since 2012, and I thought that he would be great for the show because he's an innovator, he knows what he's talking about, he knows the landscape of TV, so why shouldn't he be on Grant's Rants? So, glad to have you on.
Oh, yes, and I'm glad to be here.
Before we get started, I wanted to address an announcement that I've been teasing regarding the future of Grant's Rants. I was recently on C-Spot Talk marketing radio show with Grant's Rants alum and AfterBuzz alum Christy Olsen, Megan Stecker, and of course Fern Ronay. And over there, I talked about the future of Grant's Rants Hollywood Talk. The podcast will continue. And there's a new show, Grant's Rants Hollywood Live. And it's going to be premiering on a brand new app. It's a live stream app, BidChat, BidChat. And it's going to be a new take on Grant's Rants. It's very exciting, and I hope you'll all join me in supporting it and checking it out. The app is not available yet, but you can go on their website and you can sign up for early download and download the app when it comes out in June. And the show will premiere in June as well. It's a great thing. There's even an opportunity to donate to charity. So keep posted here. Check out the podcast and, of course, my Facebook page to see when those premiere dates will be happening. Now, David and I have talked for a long time, mainly about daytime TV and our distaste for it.
Yes, I have a distaste for it.
You know, I feel like we both grew up on it, so we know the good times, and we know the potential behind what could be, and unfortunately, we're given very, very little.
Yeah, and I have to agree. That at this present moment, I mean, there's just not enough of these good stories coming out. I mean, you have the ABC and the NBC soap, Days of Our Lives in General Hospital, or just in the toilet. You have Young and the Restless, where some of it's good and some of it's very bad, and Bold and the Beautiful is the same way. Some of it's good and some of it's very bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, well, before we talk about soaps and what drew our attention to one another, because I looked back and we've been messaging each other on Facebook about TV since 2012. It doesn't seem that long. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot to say. Usually it's in text form, but we're going to put it all out there today on Grant's Rants. But first of all, we have to talk about Johnny Depp and what is going on with this marriage, all of the allegations. This has to be one of the messiest divorces I've heard in recent history.
Oh, yeah. I have to agree with you. Like, this is very, very messy. I mean, there's been plenty of messy divorces, but yeah, this one is a messy divorce, about, with such accusations going about. But it really isn't, in terms of, like, maybe, say, in the media and of these sort of celebrity status folk, it's just unheard of, but it isn't uncommon for people who are in what they call high conflict divorces to lie allegations against one another in order to try to get the advantage in the court. Yeah, well, this is going to go on for a long time. Johnny Depp,
he's had it tough. His mother died. His film career has been doing poorly, one would say. And, Alice, the movie that he just did, completely bombed. That's what Variety said, so... Yeah, you can't really do much from there. There's so much that has happened to this man's life from May 20th onward. That's when his mother passed. He and Amber had already split at that time. The next day, she served him with court papers. Then she said that he was high and drunk and flung a cell phone at her. 2 days later, she filed for divorce, and then there's been nothing but venom spewed ever since. I have so many details here, but I feel like I'd be sitting here like reading the news, and there's so many facts, or not really facts, but so many allegations, should we say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So today she gave a statement to the LAPD because Johnny's lawyers really pushed her to do that, because she claims that she didn't want to say anything that would damage his and her character. But her actions speak louder than words. And, usually most people don't jump to defending the person who's being accused. They usually side with the victim. And, and that's what I usually do as well. I mean, I don't have any tolerance for any type of domestic abuse or any type of abuse, really. But this scenario seems different to me.
Mm-hmm.
Are you smelling what I'm smelling?
Yes, I am. One of the first things I thought about this is when someone is trying to get awarded, a certain amount of alimony, a certain amount of money, for a time period, that they usually heighten and make, they make allegations that may not be real. You have lawyers and attorneys who, coach you, particularly like if you're in divorce court, even if you have kids, it's even worse. It's best to be the between a man and woman, it's best to be the woman in that situation because you have the greatest chance of coming out on top. Mm-hmm. So, it just seems like a lot. It just seems like, she's likely a woman scorned who's angry and upset, and she wants to get what she can get out of this.
She's really pushing for it really hard. There's a restraining order between the two now, and there's been guards at the house, and the guards said that they overheard her yelling at him to stop hitting her. She said, "Stop hitting me, stop hitting me." Then they came into the room, and she was seated on a couch, and Johnny Depp was about 20 feet away. So, just saying, it just doesn't look right. Now, Johnny's past is what it is. I mean, he's got, some touch and go moments of having a temper and things like that. So there's something there. And at the end of the day, she really does have all those bruises around her eye. So, is that from the iPhone? Is that something else was inflicted upon her? The LAPD says when they went to go to the house when they were called, she had no signs of physical abuse, and there was no glass broken, nothing was destroyed. So she claims, they went to a different part of the house. They didn't go to the house where the altercation occurred. So it just doesn't look good for her, but she is going to push as long as she wants because she's really, really milking it. Like you said, she wants the most out of it. She wants 50-50 beyond that. She's entitled to 50-50, but she's beyond that in her requests. She wants his car, month-to-month support, and she wants him to cover all of her legal fees.
That's right. And she seemingly laid out what she thinks the value of, his property, what he has in the house. I mean, somebody who's like, if you're in a domestic abusive situation, right, and that's the kind of situation you've been living in, and you want to exit the domestic abusive situation, when women or anybody who's in a domestic abusive situation get the courage to leave, they're not running around the house clocking how much everything costs, the dollars and all those sort of things. In fact, a lot of women who were married to men with money but were in an abusive situation, many of them would just want to leave. I don't care. He can have everything. I just need to get out of this situation, right?
Yeah.
I don't care about the money.
Yeah, I mean, and if she's entitled to 50-50, that should be enough. Like that, fine. Fine, sure, get me out of this. Like, she should want to end the marriage as quickly as he does. And it seems like there was a statement released, like, he just, wants to just get past it as fast as possible. I mean, it couldn't make him look worse, really. But people are standing up for him. His friends and his ex-women in his life have all said that, they've never experienced anything like that, so, and no type of abuse. He seems to me to be a soft-spoken man. Now, people can be one way in the streets and another way behind closed doors, but he seems to be kind of a soft-spoken artist type. Maybe I'm just a fool, but that's what I get, vibes from him.
Yeah, I mean, unless he's Ike Turner or something, I don't, I don't really know, I can't really see. I mean, it's true. People can be different, out in public and then behind the scenes. But I think some people can hide it very well. But you can often see. I've known people who were in domestic abusive relationships, and I could tell that the person was an abuser. Like I had a sixth sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a sixth sense about the way they were together. Sixth sense about that male individual. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. She could be, but at the same time, there's that big sinking feeling that when a lot of money is involved, and you have attorneys, right, who get inside your head, right? Particularly, individuals say, because the attorney wants to get their money, right? Attorney get inside your head and get all money out there. Then they will tell people, say he raped you, say he abused you, say he abused the kids, right? Even if it's not true. And I've seen data that shows that, like, when they looked at like 50, I think it was like about 50,000 high conflict divorces, which is about average each year. And they would say that you would have, the mothers, if they had children in it, making all kinds of accusations, domestic abuse, sexual abuse. And they would say 96% of the time, those claims were found to be false.
Wow.
So I mean, these kind of things are troublesome either way it goes.
There was a great article on the Wrap that my roommate actually told me about. And it was about the friends of his, and they knew that she was manipulating him, and they knew that she was no good for him, but they were intimidated. They were like, "You're Johnny Depp. Like, we don't want to be thrown out of your inner circle. Like, we don't want to vocalize how we really feel." But I mean, if they should have, if they were really decent friends, and not just there for, an after party, they really should have spoken up. LAPD is investigating, so we'll keep an eye on this one. I'm kind of invested in this for some reason. I just think that it's very dramatic. Well, from one marriage to a much better marriage, let's talk about the Obamas and just how they're so ready to be done. They're so ready to get out of that White House, and I don't blame either of them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know what? I would say I know for everybody who's president, who is been president, will say that they never criticize the next president because they know what the toughness of what it is to be in office, whether it's 4 years or whether it's 8 years. So George W. Bush didn't criticize President Obama. President Obama won't criticize the next one.
Right.
Clinton didn't criticize Bush, right? It's just a tough thing. So I mean, you're on the world stage. Everybody knows who you are. You can't win or lose either way you go, right?
That's true.
Everybody, so and then your wife, and she will probably can't wait to get away from all the media and cameras and all the attention all the time.
Yeah.
So Michelle Obama is ready to go.
Oh yeah, well his approval rating is so high. I'm glad to see that. After the presidency, they are going to head to a new home, and it's about 2 miles from the White House. And I looked at this house, and I think it's really something nice. They're going to stay there until about 2018. It's 8,200 square feet, 9 bedrooms. It looks really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's got a really old school feel, right? It's got a very almost. I want to say it's like an old English feel to it.
Yeah, it's like a little bit Tudor style. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Very Tudor, older stuff. It is, so it looks nice, and I'm glad I decided to stay there until their daughter finishes high school. So.
Yeah, it's really something. According to Zillow, this new place is valued around $6 million, and they're going to rent. So they're going to be paying. This is according to Zillow. Who knows? The owner is a member of the Democratic Party, so I'm sure there might be a little bit of a discount. But it's listed at $22,000 a month. And Michelle's mom is still going to be able to stay with them, and it's like the perfect setup. There's like a full, complete gated courtyard, guardhouse. Like it's almost like tailor-made for a politician, A
high-profile house, high-profile place, And I'd like to mention this because you mentioned Michelle Obama's mother, and one of the interesting things about having, the first black family was that black families, if you have money, you don't hire, housekeepers or things to watch over your children. You have the mother, either the mother of the father or the mother of the wife, comes in and takes the role of the caretaker of the children, so that you still have that great familiar connection. So it's great that she's keeping her mother moving right with her into the next spot.
Yeah. I think that's great too. I was happy to see that. Yeah, very important that the mother-in-law is in tow.
Yes, it is. Mother-in-law in tow.
Yeah. I know one person that you wanted to talk about was Naomi Campbell. And we want to talk about her book. So let us know. Tell me what you're thinking. This book with this crazy 3D cover is something else.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. Well, so she revealed on a British television series. It's like a primetime talk show. I can't think of the name of the show right now, but they're making about 1,000. They made 1,000 copies of this original book. It's real big in this casing. So there are two books in there. There's a photo book, and then there's more of a biography of her life, of her career as a model, and kind of her upbringing. And they're selling it at about they're selling each one at about 1,200. What's it like? 1,200, per book, and then afterwards they're going to do a smaller reprint, which will be, they say, much more cheaper. I can't afford to get this original one, but if I could, I would. But this year she celebrates having been in the business for 30 years. The pretty much the longest model in the industry, particularly among the supermodel label. So it's really exciting to really see that she has lasted this long, right? And she's continued to go. I mean, I think Naomi Campbell would die modeling. I mean, it's just something that she loves so much. It's such a passion of hers that she just really does it. So it's great to see that she has released this book. Now, I have her original book that she did back in 1997, which was called Naomi, and it was just like about an 80-page book of photos, right? Mm-hmm. From that time period in her career. So it was great to see her do a follow-up and put this out there. I'm just kind of wondering when are we going to have the movie? When are we going to have Naomi Campbell the movie, right? Because she's got a story that would be very Academy Award worthy, or at least Emmy worthy.
I think that she is just never going to quit because she never ages. She looks fantastic. I think she's more relevant than she's been in years, mainly because of Empire. But she's like an it girl right now. She really is.
Yes, she is. And you're right about this. She's an it girl. And look, she has maintained Naomi Campbell came into the modeling industry before they got all heroin chic thin, right? And so she came in when thin was still being very healthy, right? When they have good toned bodies. And she's got, an excellent body, right? It's not super thin, and it's very well toned. She keeps it up. She does Pilates. She works out. She does all these things, and she just knows how to take a damn good fucking picture. She's just good at it. I mean, nobody's like her. I mean, she's the only one I knew that got community service and then came every day dressed to community service in New York. In just high fashion, right?
The very best. Yeah, I love that.
You're very nice to love that. And then her appearance on Empire, I was like, oh yeah, it's good. Too bad she didn't get the chance to have a cat fight with Cookie.
Oh, I know. I thought they were going to do a little more with her.
Yeah, I thought they were too, but they didn't. So, I mean, nevertheless, I mean, like you said, Naomi Campbell has been. I'll tell this to people. Naomi Campbell, the way she kept herself relevant through all these years was that every season she would change her hairdo, right? She would have a new hairdo, and she would wear that hairdo for the season, and all of a sudden she was like a fresh, new looking woman, right, as a model, and she would just keep going, and she's made some really good career milestones. She was the first black model that Ralph Lauren ever had as a spokesmodel. In 1997. And that same year, they did like a double. They had Tyson Beckford as the male spokesmodel for Ralph Lauren for that year. And so it was like first time you've ever seen both a black male and female be the spokesmodel for a major high fashion brand. And she was the first model on the cover of French Vogue. She was the first, at least black one. She was the first black model on the cover of a September edition of American Vogue. She's covered, in total, maybe 64 covers of Vogue around the world. So she has made some good. And altogether, she's covered close to 600 magazines, the world around, been in close to hundreds of ad campaigns, walked thousands of runway shows, has the best walk in the history of this industry. Right?
Ooh, you're such a fan of Naomi.
Yes, I am such a fan of her, such a fan, and I'm always such a fan of somebody. I mean, yes, she's had her issues, she had, after Gianni Versace died, she had, developed an issue with drug addiction to cope with that, but she's been in recovery now for quite a while. She's had some anger issues in her life. We know about her famous cell phone incidents, and and all those sort of things. But she seemingly worked through that. But at the same time, this is a woman who would say, I'm going to get paid the same as Claudia Schiffer, right? You're not going to give me the same job that she does and pay me less than her. And sometimes she would be referred to as a bitch in the industry because she demanded respect. She demanded, equal pay, right? She demanded what everybody else got. So I really respect her for that.
And even this weekend, she went out with Rihanna, and those two, the article said that they shut it down. Like, they shut down the whole, Soho district with people, because just people were just fascinated that those two are going out to eat.
I'm sure they were. Now, yes, that is a twosome. And what's interesting about the twosome is, when, Naomi Campbell takes a photo and it appears in a magazine or it's in an advertisement, she can sell clothes. Rihanna has become the fashion icon from the music industry who can sell clothes, right? So these two people together are just it's like a power friendship or whatever they have going on there, a power association.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I hope someone's taking notes and finds a way for those two to do business together, because they could dominate every generation. We must talk about more daytime. And we need to talk about a little bit about The View, because I like to talk about this because, I rant about it constantly. And I need to just talk about this new contract. Whoopi Goldberg, she's officially on my list. I'm so sick of her. I find her to be incredibly lazy on this show. She had a contract for $5 million, was a pay or play. We've talked about it on the show. Now she's signed on for half the price. So just for 1 year, she's doing $2.5 million, making that. She's only showing up to work 4 times a week. She's not doing anything extra. No publicity, no Fridays, no live streaming, unlimited outs. I mean, this is all alleged, but, because ABC doesn't comment on contracts, but this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm reading, and this is what makes sense to me. So, I don't know. To me, it's just that not only is it time to get rid of the show, as I've said time and time again, but it's time for her to go. Go do something else. The show isn't a good look for you. What are you doing?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because she is doing a lot of other stuff, right? She's executive producing a show about people transitioning. I think it's male to female transgenders transitioning. She's got her pop products company, that they're making stuff out of. I think it was hemp and marijuana. Yeah. They're using that, got that going on. I've always thought that Whoopi Goldberg should, go back to, either do a couple movies. I mean, she has done some small stuff in movies, or get another sitcom or something on television, and just get herself back out there and that way. Because she's a wonderful actress. She can do drama. She can do comedy.
I do agree with that. I like her as an actress, as a personality. To me on the show, she's tired and she's lazy and she phones it in. So there's just no place for that on a talk show, especially when you're in a moderator position. Again, this is all alleged, but come on. I mean, when there's smoke, there's fire. I always know what's going on over there anyway. Sunny Hostin and Sarah Haynes are going to be joining the show. Whoopi campaigned for Sarah to come on the show, and she campaigned against Paula, the only one on that show that's an actual real journalist and has a brain.
So is Paula still going to be there?
Paula's still there. Paula's still there, but I think it's disgusting that Whoopi would allegedly go out of her way to try to get rid of her. I mean, come on. And then ABC treated Michelle Collins terribly by cutting her down to 1 day a week. They didn't include her in any of the group episodes, but yet they had a baby shower for Sarah Haynes, who isn't even on the show. So it reeks of, all this stuff. It all adds up to me.
I could take or leave Michelle watching it, because I just thought that Michelle was always trying to, she was more like following the mob, right? Whatever the group said, she was not going to try to deviate too much from that. So I didn't feel like she really brought much of her own personality or anything to it, at all. But I love Paula, and I'm glad she's still there. I like Paula because she has a point of view and not just a point of view. You said she's a journalist, so Paula View will say, "But no, here's what the facts say," right?
Right.
She'll bring that in there. All right. Yeah.
The facts are a recurring character on The View. They only come out about once a month.
Yeah, once a month. Once a month. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. You need that.
yeah, you need that when you're under the umbrella of ABC News. Just saying. But
Yes. Yeah.
ABC denies the whole thing, and they say, what else is new? People love to speculate about the co hosts. We're lucky to have terrific guest co hosts fill in when our talented co hosts are busy with other projects. It's all chemistry testing. Anybody could see that. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is not the first time ABC's released a statement, and then 2 weeks later, it's all everything they're being asked is true to like the final sentence.
Candace and Raven are going to be out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, it's
Like,
time.
yeah.
It's time for them to go. I mean, it's time for them all to go. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a desperate, trashy show at this point. I mean, unless if you put someone on there like Ann Coulter, who really is just gonna piss people off and be that conservative voice, like that extreme voice that's going to be super polarizing. If they don't want to do that, then there's no point in having an opinion-based show. And I'm not a fan of Ann Coulter. I don't agree with giving her a platform, but CNN and Fox News and The View has just disagrees with me because they give her a platform. So why not put her on the show that's failing and dying? Let's talk about someone else's career in daytime. Tamar Braxton. She's going to have a gap on her resume coming the fall because it doesn't look like she's going to be on The Real. I know you have done a lot of research surrounding this, so what can you tell us?
Well, yes, I have. Okay, because I wanted to find this out. What allegedly happened was obviously Tamar was let go from the show. She was fired. This is what it was said as fired. But then some of the media outlets report that it was a mutually exclusive agreement, which means you were fired, but they just let you leave on your own terms, right? Sort of Alcolina. So what was said was several things. Number one, that Tamar Braxton had a diva attitude, right? Behind the set, right? That there were incidents where she yelled at producers, screamed at producers, and one time they were playing a game on the show and she lost the game, and when they cut, she was visibly upset, right? Like you're just playing a game. Who cares whether you win or lose, right? But also that her behavior and her demands were extremely high. Now, her husband, who has also a production credit on the show as a producer, was the guy who was kind of being the go-between, right? So he was going to the other producers and the other executives, the studio heads, and kind of saying, fanning out the flames, right? And they, between that and they did some audience testing, right? So they did some, they got together
Like a focus
audience
group
members,
or something.
focus. Yeah. They got a focus group together, and the Real is obviously targeted at African American women, right? That's who their main target demographic are, and so they found that educated Black women did not identify with Tamar Braxton. They felt that in so many terms, they felt that that Tamar Braxton was too ghetto, right? But really, what the problem is. And a lot of people I've talked to have mentioned that Tamar Braxton overdid it. She took, a lot of what they call Black gay slang, and she used that on the show. And some of the stuff she made popular, like to have several seats, right? That sort of thing. So she took all that slang and she began to use it on the show. And a lot of audience members just couldn't identify with it, right? They couldn't. But then there are a lot of people who say they tuned in to The Real because of Tamar and that she made the show. So there's she has a huge fan base out there that are saying, if Tamar Braxton ain't there, I'm not watching, right? And I think she makes the show. So this is like everything. And a lot of people didn't think that the Real was even going to make it past the first season, but it became hugely popular.
Well, they're taking a tremendous gamble because now they're doing what all these other shows do. They have to shake up their panels and try out guest co-hosts and all that. And it's a gamble and it's tiring. I think that if you're going to be a producer on one of these shows, you have to know what the show is, who's on it, and who the viewers are. And now you're playing with a formula that is working, like you mentioned. It wasn't even really slated to be a hit. It was more of like a chance they were taking, and the show does well, and it's fun to watch. And so for them now, when they've hit their stride to screw everything up. I mean, the Talk did the same thing. The Talk was lucky; they benefited, but it's a gamble. It's a gamble.
Yeah. It is a gamble, and people have talked about like who would you get to replace it. Now, some people have said that Keke Palmer, the actress Keke
Oh,
Palmer, might
she's
be a good
cute.
replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she had a short-lived talk show, just Keke. But we've never seen her in this space because we don't really know Keke Palmer, like what are her views, her opinions on things of the world. Like you really don't know that. So this would be an opportunity if she were brought on, they could test her out. To see if that worked. And Keke Palmer she's, among, called Black Hollywood and that sort of thing. She's very popular among there, so she could really do well. People would like her if she were added to the panel. So that would be the choice. I would suggest, to come in there and do some replacement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good idea.
The other story here is that Tamar made the tweet, regarding people stabbing her in the back, and then she unfriended everybody on social media, all of her hosts. I think the only person that she did unfriend was the sister actress, right?
Oh yeah.
Tamara.
Tamara, yeah.
Tamara. Yeah. Tamara's the only one she didn't unfriend. So she unfriended, Lonnie Love. She unfriended, Janae and Adrian, right? So all of them.
But that's ridiculous. Those girls had nothing to do with contract negotiations and behind the scenes antics. They're like the last people in line. I mean, unless there's someone like Sharon Osbourne who believes she has all this power, those girls can't get anybody removed. And Lonnie Love even said that when she had a little Facebook Live video and she looked crazy in it, but she spoke her truth. And she even slammed Wendy Williams, and I think sometimes Wendy Williams needs a reality check, so I was kind of glad to see that.
Yeah.
Well, what would you do if they stepped up their game and they had Naomi Campbell on the panel?
Oh, well, I might tune in every day to watch it to see what was going on. Because she can bring in an opinion and a point of view. I don't doubt it. Yeah, I would do that. Yeah. The only thing I would say that I would like to see the Real do is because right now the Real simply all they do is talk about love and romance and stuff like that. I wish that they would actually start to put in some more socially relevant topics, right? Into the discussions. I mean, since you have this panel, this panel of diverse people, this is where you can talk about police brutality. This is where you can talk about the presidential elections, right? This is where you have a Latino on there, talk about Donald Trump. What you think about that? You have an Asian on there, talk about some of these things. This is a way you can bring attention to all these different things that you might not have, going on the Talk. You might not have going on the View, but I can tell you that their audience out there would want to hear about what they call the whitewashing of some of those Japan-made films. They'd want to talk about the Oscar stuff. I mean, they talked about it a little bit, but they have a platform to be able to talk about a lot of different topics that you might not come up on ABC or or CBS or NBC or any of those. So I mean, that's what I would do. I would step it up.
Yeah, well, it sounds like in the fall they're going to have a little bit of a rebirth and a restructuring, so we shall see. We shall see.
You're listening to Grant's Rants. Please rate, subscribe, and share on iTunes and social media. Spread the word. There are a lot more rants to come. Follow us on Twitter at Grants__rants. And now for the one-on-one.
We're back with founder and publisher at AN Publishing, David Adam Nole. Glad to have you here talking about topics. I love that you're so passionate about daytime stuff because I get into it too. And I feel like it's like a lot of mainstream press doesn't really talk about it, but there's so much stuff that goes down and it's still television, it's still network, so there's a lot to say. But let's talk about what you're passionate about, and that's these digital brands and these digital magazines that you've been putting together. I mean, for as long as I've known you, you've been telling me, and I remember the original site for Man of the Hour magazine, and tell us a little bit about these brands and how they're different from one another. So you have three.
Okay, yes, I do. So let me just talk about sort of the founding. So the reason why I even decided to create digital media brands, to provide content, and my content focuses on millennials, right? So millennials, that's what I'm developing content for, is number one, because I saw a lack of quality content, like targeted toward millennials, male or female. Everything is just always beauty, cars, sports, all these sort of things. And I realized that there are a lot of educated millennial men, millennial women, who are, seeking a higher quality of life, right? They like nice things, right? They have stuff. They have, they talk about politics. They like to talk about their careers. They like to dress well. They like to do all these different things. And so I really wanted to really just come up with, some digital media brands that would really address the specific needs and the specific concerns and the specific interests of the millennial generation, which is very different than the baby boomer and very different than Generation X, right? Mm-hmm. And so you don't really see those needs being met by GQ, Esquire, Vogue, Green, and those sort of things. So that was kind of the reason why I came up. So my first brand was Man of the Hour. And so Man of the Hour is a men's lifestyle magazine catering to college-educated men, millennials that is, but 25 to 35 in age, with our median age being 29. And basically, it covers everything from fashion, entertainment, politics, style, economy, all just geared toward these educated entrepreneurial men who are just, pursuing to, be their best that they can be in life. So I really want to walk them through every facet of that, right? So keeping them up to date with what's happening in the world of politics, keeping them up to date with what's happening in the world of fashion. Like what are the latest styles? What can you wear, to your job as the investment banker? What can you wear to your job at Facebook? What can you wear to that? How can you do that? And just all the sort of social topics and cultural topics that would be of interest to our male readers. So it's very, high quality content. We're not sitting around, having the latest gossip. They're sites that do that very well. We really want to focus this on quality content, fine wine, right, for our readers. And then the second property is So Mesdames, which is geared for women, same age demographic, 25 to 35, educated women. And how we differ with So Mesdames than a lot of the sort of women's digital media sites or even in print versions that exist out there is that we want to cater to women who want to be leaders. So Mesdames, which is French for top lady, right? So you're on top. It really just caters toward these entrepreneurial women, these women who want to be in leadership roles, these women who want to rise their career. So I like to say, we're not for the educated woman who just says, well, I could be an accountant for the rest of my life. I can do this job for the rest of my life. But this is the woman who wants to really go far, right? She wants to, be, the good Alexis Carrington, not the bad one, right? She really wants to go there. She really wants to be a success in her life. And so we really want to cater a content, which is, a lot of career content. There is fashion, beauty stuff, related to that, entertainment stuff as well. But it really is just targeting this educated woman who obviously watches a lot of reality TV shows, because that's the main demo for, reality TV shows, so very educated women. But
interesting. I didn't realize that. Very educated women are drawn to reality TV. Interesting.
Yeah. That's an interesting fact. I looked it up because when I was looking at, one day I was trying to figure out who watches like the Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? And I did some research, and it was like, well, their target demo is these very educated women, right? These women have degrees, and when they question, well, don't you think that this image is bad? And they would say, no, I don't think that to me. They just found it entertaining. So I realized across reality TV spectrum, as I started to look, they're educated women who are watching these shows, women with degrees, women with careers who like watching these different things. So it's really interesting to know that there is this demographic of women who needs content catered to them, and in all different kinds of ways, and particularly millennial women, who are just going out there and pushing themselves and doing whatever it is they want to do, making themselves successful. I really wanted to have something that was catering to that, rather than some of the I would say some of the sites kind of play more to the victim narrative, and I wanted to move women away from, you're not a victim of everything because of your gender. Here are all the things you can do. Here's how you can get yourself to the next level. And so I want to empower women to just really be their success. Final digital media site, which is the latest one, which will be coming out in about July, It's called a Modern Treatise, and Modern Treatise is sort of a if you think of Vanity Fair, you think of Town Country, you think of Forbes and Bloomberg, and really what it is, it's a site created so that people of color in the United States of America have a space to see, get tips about their careers, being entrepreneurs, talk about some of the social cultural issues that are of concern, see the who's who in different industries, because for any kind of whether you want to call them marginalized group or groups of individuals, when you don't see yourself reflected in things, you kind of feel like it doesn't exist. So I want to show them there are all these different kinds of people, Black, Asian, Latino, all these kind of people who exist who are doing all these wonderful things. Let me introduce you to those people if you don't know who they are, and lots of people don't. And then let me also give you tips so that you can go out there and make your own way, right? You can become the next, Shonda Rhimes, right? You can become the next Tyler Perry or whoever it is. You can go out there and be that individual. So another site, I want to empower people. So a lot of what I do across all my sites is empowering the men, empowering people of color, empowering women to really be their best, but also providing the most quality luxury content for you.
Well, that's really what drew me into reading the articles, because you're really catering not to the lowest common denominator like so many other things online. You really have very thought-provoking articles, and you pull from Nielsen, and you look at analytics, and it's very interesting. Like we're just hearing about how very educated women enjoy something like Real Housewives. Like that's the type of stuff that I'm finding in these articles. So they're interesting reads. It's not all like, oh yeah, well, like white men like golf. Like, it's nothing it's not that boring at all. It's actually very interesting and thought-provoking. And you definitely do speak to the higher end of life, the champagne life, which I can identify with, of course. So I like that.
Yeah. Champagne wishes and caviar dreams. We all have that. And I like to tell people this, what I'm doing reflects me, right? It reflects me. It reflects my upbringing, my household. It reflects that, right? I couldn't do anything that doesn't reflect me, my interests, my taste. And I know that there are, millions of other individuals out there, millions of other millennials who have the same taste, right? Who have the same interest, right? And they don't really have a space to go to get that reflected. So I really want to make sure that all of us, have that high quality of content. Like I said, set the bar high, not low.
That's true. And all those brands are very all-inclusive. So you're really able to capture a lot of different eyeballs and readers that way. I mean, you're really covering, you're covering really everyone that within that millennial bracket. I think it's great, and it must be a ton of work. So how did all of this come about?
Let's start with Man of the Hour, because Man of the Hour was the first one that came out. So look, I love magazines. I collect certain covers of magazines. I can tell you about the ins and outs of all magazines. Like I can open it up and tell you why the ad is placed there, right? I can tell you why this article is here. I can tell you why this person's on the cover. And my friends were so annoyed with me always talking about this, and that they just said, you know what? You should start your own magazine. You know so much about this. You should do it. I said, oh, you know what? That's great. And then you see the power of the internet, right? Today, you can, a few clicks of the mouse, a little bit of coding or, a development, and you could be up and running. And so I decided, well, I'm going to do this. So I took a 6-month, not a 6-month summer course, or not a 6-month summer course, but a 9-week summer course at San Francisco State, where it was all about magazine publishing and learn the ins and outs. And during the course, we had to develop a mock magazine, right? And I said, I'm going to come up with the magazine I want to do there. And the original title for it was Modern Gentleman, right? Mm-hmm. And I had one of the students was a friend of mine, and we were going to partner up together to really make Modern Gentleman, but he backed out later because he wanted to do something completely different. And so I just kept the idea, changed the name, right, and said I got to come up with a new name so I don't get sued, right? I love my friend, but you never know. Money can change a lot of things. So, I changed the name. And I changed the direction and focused strictly to millennials. And then I just spent the next 6 months planning what the content was going to be, what we were going to be covering, and then developing and building the very first site, so that it was able to be out there, and then sought writers, which I have about 6 writers, right, and an editor, and just started building from there, just slowly but surely, developing content, building, learning, failing at some things, and being able to just change and understand where I needed to be at. So now I feel like I have all the building blocks. I've had the failure part of it that I needed to have. They always say you have to have, you can't succeed without failing to be able to do that. And so that just really got me started with Man of the Hour. So the moment I started doing Man of the Hour, I said, I'm going to do a woman's site, but I'm going to do that later. So I always had that in my head. And then once I got Man of the Hour up and running and I had it going really well, then I decided, you know what? Now it's time to do the woman's site. And so then that's when I started to work on So Madame and develop, research. Since I'm a researcher, I will research things to death. I want to look at the competition, what's out there, what the market has, and I want to say, what can I bring new to it, right? If I'm showing clothes for women, if I'm just showing some shoes and some bags and some makeup, then I'm not really doing anything different. So how can I be different? What can I do that's different? And I said, well, I'm going to make this about women being leaders. It's going to be leadership focused. And that came up. And then after getting that up and running, I had one more idea, which I said this will be my last idea, was to just do Modern Treatise, that I want to do that sort of high quality site, that really, presents the kind of content that people of color in America want to see, particularly those who are entrepreneurs, those who want to be successors in their life and doing that. And I clearly believe in the idea that if you see something out there or you see something that doesn't exist, create it yourself. Don't complain. Don't tell somebody else, please do this. Why don't you do that? I will go out there and fill that void. And that's how it all came about.
I love that. That speaks to the spirit of this show, and the fact that you're able to do all this and you had a vision, you executed it yourself, and that especially, what was interesting is you weren't turned off when your former partner in that class, left the project. You were like, no, this is happening, and I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to go about it smart, and I'm going to have completely put my vision out there. And I love that you've innovated it and made new projects out of it. I think it's wonderful. I really do. I want to talk a little bit about the size of the team that you work with, and is it a collaborative effort? I know you mentioned you had an editor and a few writers. How many? What does it look like? What does this all look like behind the scenes?
Okay, so for each of the 3 sites, well, the new ones are not there yet, but for each of the 3 sites, we have a total of 6 writers for each site. They cover specifics like society, entertainment, fashion, beauty for the women, music, things like that. So we have 6 writers for each of the sites, and then I have an editor for each of the sites, and then I have one PR, public relations rep who also covers the social media and then there's me. And so that's what the team says. Yeah. So it's a pretty good team behind there. And my writers live in different parts of the country, right? So they're we're talking to each other through our emails, through having phone conversations. We're having group meetings, all kinds of different things happening throughout the week. Looking at least coming up with stories and all these kind of expanded content. Now, currently, all the sites are under redevelopment, and Man of the Hour will be back up next week. So it'll be rolling out slowly, on the new platform next week. But that's a lot of what goes on. And I'm just an individual who can pull story from air. Right? Like I'm not only a writer, but I'm good at coming up with content ideas. So, I can just right off the bat come up with like 15 or 20 different article topics and figure out how you can apply that to our demographic, our reader. And I'm always about that. So, that's what I do working with the team. Of writers who are very very good, and I go through a hard selection process, right? That's for writers. Like I don't take anybody who's had an English degree or anybody who says they do journalism. Like it's got to be this specific person. They have to understand our audience. They have to know how to write it. So it's very clear like that. So
that's great. It's wonderful. What's the traffic like? And how has performance really kind of picked up over the evolution of these brands and the creation of them?
Okay, so Man of the Hour evolved I like to say it evolved from starting at about a couple hundred a week to about 160, 160,000 a week.
Wow.
Unique users coming to the site to check out content, right? So it was obviously it's obviously been the most successful brand. Somedam has only been out for less than 9 months, but over the course of 9 months, it was moving up to 50,000 visitors a week, and now it's under redevelopment. And Modern Treatise is not here yet, but it's going to grow, and we're already working on building our social media presence on all of these sites. At least for Modern Treatise, which is a new one. Because we've started out pretty early. So I've taken all the lessons I've learned from Man of the Hour, applied it to Somedam, and now applying it to Modern Treatise. So yeah.
That's wonderful. I mean, congratulations on your success. I mean, clearly, they're definitely catching eyeballs, and like you mentioned, you're catering to that audience that is untapped in certain aspects. I think that's great. Let's talk about the redevelopment. I want to promote these sites for you. So when can we expect to see the new and improved looks roll out?
Well, Monday, Man of the Hour. So not next Monday. Man of the Hour will be rolling. What's that? It's the 6th. So on this Monday, the 6th, Man of the Hour will be slowly rolling itself out over the course of the month. So the course of the month, all of the will be rolling out each week till we have everything kind of up and running. And then in the July, we will have Modern Treatise. We'll roll out the first week of July, and then the first week of August, Somedam will reemerge itself. So that's kind of what's going to be happening there. And if people want to know more about the brands, they go to anpublishing.com. And there they can see the media kits for each of the sites, and they can get all the information they need to know. Obviously, we are constantly receiving interest from brands and marketers out there who want to collaborate with us on different sort of products to try to reach the millennial, and we've been doing a very good job at really selling them why you need to get this millennial money. And one thing I like to say to people that's important is that when you're young, you are willing to buy whatever you feel you want at the moment, right? You don't really have established taste yet. So for the marketers out there, for the brands out there, they're trying to make you their lifetime customer. Now, your mom, your grandmother, they know everything they want to buy, right? They don't really try new things. They stay and they buy the same products. They buy from the same designers. They know what they want. They know what works for them. You don't know that yet, and so. One of our major sales to these brands out there is that since they don't know, we're the place you can come to expose them to your brands, right?
100%. Brilliant. Yeah. So Somedam and Man of the Hour, you can actually still access these sites, even though the new redesigns haven't rolled out, correct? So you can still go on there and read content and share it and share it on social media. So definitely check out these brands. I mean, they appeal to just about everyone, so I'm sure you can find something.
Yes, it is. Yes, sure you can, yes.
So wonderful.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to promote? I mean, I know you have a lot going on. Having to get these redesigns together must be just like all your time and ton of work. Yes, it does. It takes up my waking hours and all the time that I'm being done there. I guess what I would just like to promote to people is that we're going to have a ton of interviews coming out this year, and we're always people who are listening. If you are an actress, an actor, if you're a musician, and you've got some good stuff, you can always submit it to our public relations, and if we think it's good, we might feature it in some of our content on there, So we're always out there looking to discover, the fresh talents as well. It's paying it forward as well as, dealing with the established. So. Wonderful. It sounds like you have such a great model going. I mean, we've talked for so long, and I didn't even know all this information. So I'm learning as well as everybody else of all that you've got going on. I can only imagine it must be a lot to manage such a team like that. But you've found so much success that it just kind of keeps going. You can't stop now. So I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for coming on and continuing the spirit of Grant's Rants about getting it done yourself and saying it like you mean it, knowing what you're talking about, and really, like you mentioned, being that smart, educated millennial that knows what's going on and knows what's up.
So, yes, that's right. Yeah.
Thank you for all the information. I really do encourage everyone to check out these sites, and you can find the information in the links beneath this episode.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'd love to come back again.
Sounds good. Will do. All right, folks. Thank you very much for supporting Grant's Rants. Look out for new episodes, and don't forget to check out Bid Chat, where Grant's Rants Hollywood Live will be premiering soon. We'll look out for those dates for you.
This has been Grant's Rants. Follow us on Twitter at Grants__Rants. Cover art created by Howie Ronay. Voiceover by Sir Richard Wentworth. Original theme music composed by Alexander Arnson.